Oh, so it says for the status, this will not be visible to attendees. Oh, okay.
I think it started now.
Oh, okay. Hey, everyone. Hi, Sarah. Hey, Drew.
Hi, Drew. Oh, you have so much support already, Haley, and it hasn't even started.
I know.
Welcome, everyone. Okay, Haley, I'm going to be quiet and let you welcome everyone, and then I will give a brief introduction at 1:05, okay?
All right, that sounds good. Hey, everyone. Hope you're staying warm today. I know we're having a bit of a cold front here in Texas, so. Hey, everyone. We're just giving it a couple more minutes just to see if we can get everyone into the presentation and settled in. So we'll start around 1:05. Hi, Don. Hey Curtis, hi Darian, hey Mackenzie. If you're joining us now, we're going to get started in just a couple minutes. Just waiting for some more people to filter in. Hey Leannica, good afternoon.
Silo, I'm very jealous if you have snow over there. I'm hoping for snow here.
Hey Taylor, hi James. Hey Angela. Oh wow, 6 to 8 inches of snow. That's exciting. I grew up in Canada, so I love and miss the snow.
Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this wonderful presentation. Just a quick reminder to use the chat if you have any questions during the presentation, and afterwards I'll be sure to send the link for the evaluation. But today I'm here to present Haley Patel, who is a manager for emergency and risk management at the University of Houston. Haley, giving you the reins, and take it away.
Awesome, thanks Alexis. Hey everyone, welcome to my presentation. I hope you're staying warm and toasty today. So today we're going to talk about safety leadership and how to prioritize it within your department. I'll also have some questions for you to answer and discuss. So please stay engaged and use the chat function. All right, so before getting started, I wanted to share a little bit more about myself and what my responsibilities are at the university. This is a fairly new role in housing departments across the country, and I'm actually the second person to be filling this role at UH. So as a result, I'm still defining the role. Some of the things that are under my purview here at UH are I'm responsible for projects, programs, and trainings related to safety, emergency, and risk management. I also develop and update departmental emergency plans under university guidance and policies. Most recently, some of the things I worked on are our COVID-19 quarantine and isolation management process, our student death protocol. I've recently updated the fire alarm protocol with the assistance from one of our residence life coordinators. Also conducted hurricane preparedness training. In addition to that, I also respond to campus emergencies when needed in coordination with other departments. So today we're going to be building on our knowledge of safety and how to engage in safety leadership behavior. We'll also talk about the competencies required to be an effective safety leader and how you can grow these competencies. We'll also be discussing why safety leadership is important. And throughout the presentation, I'll be talking about how I demonstrate safety leadership as part of my role at U of H. All right, so to get us thinking about safety, I thought it would be a good idea to start off with a group activity. So I want us all to think about our top reasons for staying safe today. And once you've thought of an event or something you're looking forward to that's coming up in the year, go ahead and type it in the chat. So for myself, I'm looking forward to COVID-19 being over and spending some more time with friends and family members. If there's something that you're looking forward to as well, go ahead and enter it in the chat. Okay, I think there might be possibly a delay. Oh, okay, I see some replies now. Backpacking trip this summer, that's exciting. The end of COVID, traveling, seeing family and friends again. An 11-month-old son, oh, that's so exciting. Eating ribs, yep. Fort Worth, oh, yep. Definitely don't want to be there right now. I hope everyone is doing okay. Traveling, enjoying Valentine's Day, seeing family, hugging loved ones. Yeah, so it looks like we all have a lot of things we're looking forward to this year. And next, I kind of wanted to ask you and get you to think about what you're doing today to stay safe so you can achieve these goals and milestones. I know some of the things that I'm doing to protect myself and my friends and family members, wearing a face mask, washing my hands regularly, using hand sanitizer, social distancing. So, what are some of the things that you all are doing to keep yourself and your loved ones safe? Taking vitamins, staying hydrated and active. Yeah, I think that's so important, especially with COVID. Staying active is great. Getting my second vaccine tomorrow. Oh, that's great. Groceries getting delivered to straight to your house. Yep. Exercising. Yeah. So it looks like we're all doing a lot of things to keep ourselves safe. Our amount of stress down, not driving on icy roads, and maintaining self-care. So while we might not have defined what these actions are, they're all signs of safety leadership. Yoga, self-care, perfect. So a safety leader is anyone that cares enough about the organization and the people around them to keep to take actions to keep themselves and others safe. Safety leaders don't influence others through power, their status, or their authority, and instead, they're people who demonstrate positive safety behaviors, and through those behaviors, they inspire other people around them to do the same. So one example of safety leadership behavior is knowing and following the rules. What are some other examples of safety leadership behavior that you can think of? And go ahead and type it in the chat once you have an example of something that might be a positive safety leadership behavior. Okay, so it looks like there is a bit of a lag. I'll go ahead and start reviewing what some other examples are while I'm waiting for it to load. Some other examples are reporting safety hazards and violations, communicating openly with coworkers and management about safety concerns, encouraging coworkers to exhibit safety behaviors, and being involved in safety initiatives and committees. So I see some examples in the chat here. Ability to educate and impact following rules. Yeah, that's a good idea, Maddie. Yannicka says ensuring students have proper entry access. Yeah, absolutely. That's important. We want to have make sure our residents all have access to buildings. Being proactive. Yeah, absolutely. That's an important part of leadership. A confident leader who can communicate well both verbally and in writing. Absolutely. Communication is one of the keys of safety leadership. And we'll actually get more into that throughout the presentation. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, Dan. Okay, so safety leadership plays an important role in determining an organization's safety culture. And safety culture is a combination of beliefs, perception, and values that employees share about safety within an organization. And in turn, safety culture determines the attitudes as well as the behavior of employees that are working there. So there are three different levels of safety culture. At the bottom, we have a negative safety culture. And here, employees feel pressured to bend or break safety rules in order to meet objectives. Um, Within this kind of safety culture, we see injuries and incidents occurring often. Next, we have a reactive safety culture. And within this organization, they have procedures in place. However, they are not adequate to meet the needs of employees. Sooner or later, the system fails to protect their employees' well-being. And finally, we have the safety culture that is our standard that we want to reach. And this is a positive and proactive safety culture. Good communication, like Dan mentioned, is absolutely critical in achieving safety goals and preventing incidents here. And within this culture, we have communication throughout all levels of an organization. So starting at the front line, going all the way to executive leadership, everyone is communicating openly and meaningfully. So safety culture, attitude, and behavior all affect each other. However, in terms of timelines, safety culture takes the longest to change within an organization. However, the competencies that make up safety leadership, on the other hand, can be developed much quicker. So a recent report by Centis in 2017 identified 8 critical safety leadership competencies that define effective safety leadership performance. Centis is a market researching firm, and a lot of their focus is on collecting and reporting data that improves employee engagement, safety, and well-being. You might be able to tell by some of the spellings here, it is a Canadian company. They're spelling recognizing with S's. So the competencies here that they've identified are supporting, recognizing, actively caring, collaborating, vision, inspiring, role modeling, and challenging. So those are some of the competencies that they've defined. For myself, I think that supporting and actively caring tend to stick out to me as being the most important. It's really important to have a foundation with your staff. That way, when you're communicating your ideas to them, it increases the likelihood that your processes will be executed more successfully. So the first competency we're going to be talking about is supporting. Effective safety leaders support their team through active monitoring decisions and ensuring that the decisions that are being made align with the organization's strategy, their vision, and their values. So the first way to grow this competency is to become knowledgeable. I encourage you all to visit your organization's website and really develop a strong understanding of what your mission, your vision, are. In addition to that, talk to your peers about existing initiatives within your department that reflect these goals. Next, when you are making a decision, it's really important that you're seeking a diverse team. So this includes frontline workers, higher management, and even partners outside your own department. When you are making decisions, be innovative and keep ethics at the forefront. So think about how your decision impacts your students in the long run. Does it make your team more cohesive or cause differences? That's something you want to think about when you're making decisions as well. Some things might impact different members of your staff in different ways. So really take into consideration what a policy or protocol will create, if it will create a difference among your staff as well. Next, also think about how it reflects on your department and yourself. It's also important that you're reaching out to your peers for advice. And if you're looking for some more objective advice, reach out to your network and members that do not work at your current organization. Next, if a decision or action has been made that doesn't align with your safety goals, do not publicly reprimand or blame others. So if you're having a meeting with your entire department, this is not the place to point out that a mistake has been made and point out the specific person. Instead, opt for a one-on-one. And while you're having a one-on-one, ask leading questions that could help you determine the root cause of a behavior. It could be that maybe there's a training need that's missing. It could be that the employee needs support in another area, and you could provide them with some resources that they might need. So engage the employee in a conversation that is about the impact of their decision. So some of the questions you might want to ask are, can you help me understand why you made this decision? You could also ask them to think about how this decision affects residents down the line. We all work in student services. A lot of us work here because, we enjoy supporting students. So that's a really good way to kind of get them to think about the bigger picture. And finally, accountability is key. So if your organization doesn't regularly review processes, talk about establishing a departmental committee for this. And if you're working directly with student staff members and you see a need for change, work with your staff as well as your supervisor to create more reasonable standards that fit with your goals as a team. You can provide them with options or resources that allow them to meet their goals. Remember that being an advocate is also a really important part of supporting your team. So I see a comment in the chat, and Michael, shared values can be a wandering compass without a true north, but magnetism that should guide values must be based on reason and evidence. Absolutely. Yeah, so it's important that your decisions are being formed on data and evidence. And not only that, but you need to be able to explain why a decision is being made to your team as well. Good point, Michael. So our second competency is recognizing. Effective leaders recognize and reward their team members based on their demonstration of effective safety behavior. So you can engage in this behavior by improving the frequency and consistency of recognition within your team. Here in our department, we have a couple of love nominations, we have pride points, and we also have shout outs after meetings. So this really makes sure that we're aware when someone engages in positive behavior, and it's a way to recognize them and their contribution to our team. Some other examples of praise could be private praise or tangible and material rewards. So it sounds intuitive that we can influence our team through positive feedback and recognition, but you also have to keep in mind that as a leader, you need to be strategic and conscious about the type of attitudes and behaviors that you're reinforcing. So I have a case study coming up for analysis. And while I'm reading this, I want you to identify errors that the supervisor makes in reinforcing their team. So Sam supervises a team of resident advisors working in a residence hall. During a chaotic night, the number of calls and lockouts the RA on call receives are enormous. At one point, the RA on call is told a drunk resident has fallen in the lobby. The RA responds, assists the resident sit on a couch, and calls first responders. The next morning, Sam notices that some incident reports are missing and hears about how an RA physically moved a resident in need of assistance. Sam praises the RA for their hard work and for responding quickly to multiple events. Her RA found solutions in a timely and efficient manner, and Sam feels like they should be recognized. So can you identify what went wrong in Sam's response? Were there any errors that were made? Yeah, so although it's not intentional, Sam is rewarding her team for cutting corners and taking unnecessary risks, right? We had incident reports that weren't submitted, and in addition, physically moving an injured resident is a huge legal liability. Um, while no resident was hurt in this particular instance, it doesn't mean that things won't go wrong next time and result in something worse happening. And so, because Sam isn't consciously aware of how she's using recognition, she's actually driven on helpful safety behavior and increase the chances that a similar incident will occur in the future. Um, so often leaders may fail to consciously consider the behavior they want to recognize, and instead they just offer a word of thanks when the team members act in a way that they consider to be positive. However, it might have unintentional consequences in the long run. So it's really essential that you're thinking about that as well. Yeah, absolutely. They should not have physically moved a student. And if an RA doesn't have specific training, they should have called for medical assistance. That's exactly right. Okay, so how can you improve these competencies within yourself? The first step is to identify the positive behaviors you want to see from your team. And keep in mind this behavior needs to align with the values of your organization. Next, make a list of the types of recognition and reward you have available to use. Spend time in the field with your team and actively look for opportunities to reward and recognize. When you do observe positive behavior, consider the person that you've identified and decide on the type of recognition you think they would most value, right? So our team values different things, so it's really important you keep that in mind. And finally, take action to recognize the behavior as soon as possible and make sure the feedback you provide is genuine. Our third competency is actively caring. Effective safety leaders care for the health, safety, and general well-being of their team. So they're listening to their team, following up on concerns, and in turn, this positive relationship leads to increased employee willingness not only to work harder but also safer. So if you're trying to improve or continue demonstrating higher levels of active care, I encourage you to reflect on questions like how well you know your team, if they feel like they have a good working relationship with me. Also consider what areas your team needs the most leadership support in. Think about if there's any noise around the team that you might need to manage at a leadership level that might help them focus on their tasks more and not get distracted. Another way to show your team that you actively care is to plan a team building activity. So I have an example here of one of my favorite team building activities. And this is creating a life map. This is something that I did as part of RA training while I was an RA on campus, and it opened the door to a lot of important and meaningful conversations. I feel like some of the things we discovered are things that might not have come up just in a regular conversation. So doing an activity like this can really help you find areas to support your team better. If there are any stress or trigger points for your team members you should know about, They may talk about that during this activity as well. And finally, you can also identify traits that your team values. Our fourth competency is collaborating. Effective safety leaders collaborate and they share ownership of safety with team members and ask for active participation in safety decision making. They also empower individuals to take personal responsibility for their own safety. So the first step to do this is defining your goals. Think about what you're trying to accomplish and if you have clear targets. Next, once you have a team, rely on your teammates and the skills they bring to the table. Each member of your team has specialized knowledge that can be applied to the decision-making process. So for example, when I was working on our fire alarm protocol, I also worked with one of our residence life coordinators. He'd been working at the university for 6 years and had a lot of great experience working in the residence halls. So for me, I reached out to members of our team that might have knowledge about a specific challenge they're encountering that I might not know about. So really ask your team for input when you're making and executing a plan. Working on a plan together also increases ownership in that plan and the likelihood that the plan will be executed successfully. Next, set clear expectations within your team. Make sure everyone knows what's expected from them at an individual and an overall team level. And finally, extend your hand. Seek out partnerships from other members of your team as well as other departments. So I wanted to talk to you a little about how you can make partnerships with other departments, regardless of your job title. So first and foremost, anyone and everyone, regardless of their position within the department, can develop a relationship with a campus partner. So first, you need to start laying the groundwork with another department. Identify what your programming needs are. Determine if this will be an ongoing partnership or if it's going to be a one-time event. And if it is ongoing, think about how you will work to maintain that relationship. If you're not actively involved, relationships can fade over time. And as a leader, it's important you're staying connected and opening yourself and your department up to more opportunities. Next, communicate a plan to your supervisor in the form of a proposal. So include your purpose, your objective, outcome, budget, benefits, and also include your program style and the audience that you want your program to appeal to. Part of being a leader is taking initiative, making connections, and introducing new ideas. So that is all of our responsibilities within the department, regardless of what our specific job title may be. Our fifth competency is vision. Effective safety leaders share a vision for safety and they facilitate the development of team goals, targets, as well as their plans to achieve it. So when you're thinking of a vision and sharing it, think about the what, the how, as well as the why. The what is really required to guide your teams. So when you're determining this part of your vision, seek to understand what your team's goals are. Often leaders might struggle to guide their teams if they don't fully understand their goals. So for this reason, it's really essential that you create an effective goal setting process and include leaders at all levels in your department. Additionally, break down large goals into shorter tasks. This will help you create momentum as your team becomes closer to achieving your goals. So for example, when I talk to our team about our fire drills, I break it into small tasks. So first, you come pick up your supplies in the housing office. Next, you explain what the plan is to your student staff. And after that, you complete a fire drill. And breaking down short tasks, breaking down a larger goal into short tasks really helps achieving it in the long run. Next, think about the how. The how drives enthusiasm as well as ownership. So help your team members understand how their role contributes to the vision. Make sure you're keeping the vision in mind when you're having meetings and align recognition with team members meeting expectations. Next comes the most important part of the vision, and this is the why. The why triggers emotion as well as motivation, and I feel like our brains are motivated by emotion more than anything else. So in that train of thought, a strong vision really needs a why to be effective. So over here, I have an example of a vision that I've made. And the vision is We want to foster student success and satisfaction. And to do that, we will need to identify hazards, and we will achieve that by completing and following up on building maintenance requests. So after reading this vision, can you identify the what, the how, and the why? And go ahead and write that in the chat. Okay, so the why for why this vision has been created is to foster student success and satisfaction. The what is that we need to identify hazards. And finally, the how is to complete and follow up on fix-it requests. Our sixth effective safety leaders inspire the team to achieve the safety vision through motivational and encouraging communication. So in order to share communication that's compelling, you really want to create meaning in the day-to-day safety activities that your team takes. So talk about your staff about how their actions are ensuring the well-being of their students as well as their peers. Additionally, to maintain focus on the team's short and long-term goals, it's really important that you're communicating your goals regularly and that you're rewarding behaviors that are in line with your goals consistently. When a benchmark has been completed, let your team know and congratulate them. Next, keep progress in the front of mind. And what that means is keeping your team in the loop when progress has been made, making sure that your team understands that the actions that they've taken part in have led to a milestone for your department. And when employees feel like they're a part of the process, they're more likely to take ownership and engage in those positive safety behaviors in the future. Our seventh competency is role modeling. So effective safety leaders role model safety compliant behaviors and really set the benchmark for what's expected from the rest of the team. Employees are constantly observing their supervisors and their managers and taking cues from them about safety behavior. So because of that, it's really important that you're being a good role model. The first step to doing this is making a commitment. Establish safety as a priority within your department. Make sure that you're providing all the necessary safety equipment that your staff needs. So, for COVID, it's making sure that your team has masks. Do they have enough hand sanitizer? Is there any disinfecting supplies that you might need to purchase as a department? Next, make sure you're keeping up on your training needs. Because of COVID-19, there were changes being made to our process from the university, and new guidance was being released from the CDC as well, and it continues to be released. So make sure that you're keeping your team up to date on that information and retraining everyone as needed. You also want to inspect the workplace and make sure that work orders are being followed up on consistently. And you want to welcome employee suggestions for making the job safer. And once your employees make a suggestion to you, if it's something that's reasonable and will really contribute to making your workplace more safer, make sure you're following up on that immediately and taking action. Um, Another part of effective role modeling is talking it up. So what this means is you're creating awareness about safety within your department. Put posters up around the workplace. If you have a monthly newsletter, use a part of it to talk about an item related to safety. If you don't have a monthly newsletter, I encourage you to create one for your department and kind of start talking about that process. And next, you want to keep your website as up to date as possible with safety information. And finally, the biggest part about role modeling is that you're following the rules yourself. As a leader, do as I say, not as I do does not apply. If you want others to follow the rules, you need to follow the rules as well. All right, so our eighth competency is challenging. Effective safety leaders challenge their team members to think about safety issues and scenarios in ways that they might not have considered before. So, in order to challenge your team, the first thing you need to do is create an environment where your team is comfortable asking questions and providing their input. So, ask your team members what they think about policy. Is it do they think that it's adequate? If they have any questions, make sure you're following up, um, and let your team know that you value their opinion. And once they give you their opinion, show them by implementing changes that are based on the advice that they've given you. Another way to challenge your team is to plan roundtable discussions after training sessions. So, for example, after conducting residents life coordinator training at my department, we talked a little bit about what to do if a suspicious package comes in. And I asked our team, what would you do to get help if a package making a ticking sound arrived to your office? And this was really to get them thinking about how they would communicate to somebody else that they were in danger and needed immediate assistance. Part of receiving a suspicious package is that you're not allowed to make phone calls on your cell phone, just in case it sets the package off. So it was really to get the team to think about creative ways that they might be able to signal to someone that they need help. So now we've reviewed some competencies of safety leaders, but why exactly is it important? So organizations that invest in their employees benefit from a more mature safety culture, and because of that, they tend to see improved safety results. And so generally, as we see safety leadership improving within a department, we see a decrease in unwanted safety outcomes and an increase in positive outcomes. So some of those negative outcomes that we see lowered are critical incidents, lost time due to injury, lost time due to exposure to COVID-19, unhelpful attitudes and behaviors, and finally, that financial impact as well. Some desired outcomes that we see increased are improved willingness to report and submit documents on time, effort in relation to safety. We see increased trust and engagement within the department. We see more helpful attitudes and behaviors and resilience to change. And when you're thinking of safety leadership, it's crucial that um, investment in leadership doesn't apply exclusively to senior or executive leadership. Instead, it's equally as important that you're supporting staff on the front line who work directly with students. Can you think of reasons why it's so important to invest in your frontline workers? And go ahead and type it in the chat. Okay, so Leannica says they are the first staff serving customers. Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. Our frontline workers interact firstly because with our student staff members, we want to give them a positive reflection of our department and of our values. Yep, because the frontline workers are vital to the success of the organization. Absolutely. James says immediate response of an issue or being able to immediately communicate to leadership. Yeah, when incidents occur, our frontline workers are the first to the scene. They're responsible for managing incidents, and it's really important that we keep them in the loop of our processes and that we're training everyone regularly. Maddie says resilience building to continue enforcing safety after some time. Yeah, absolutely. Once you've trained your department on one topic, it's important to retrain regularly, right? Consistency is important when it comes to safety leadership. And with anything, there's always changes that occur that might result in the changing of a protocol. So it's really important to keep everyone in your department in the loop. So frontline workers are closest to the ground, and they also exert a lot of influence on our team's overall safety culture, behavior, and performance as a whole. And they are usually the first responders. All right, so I have some takeaways from the presentation as we're rounding off to the end. The biggest thing that I want everyone to take home is that absolutely anyone and everyone can be a safety leader. Effective safety leadership impacts every facet of an organization's safety culture, including attitudes and behaviors of team members. It also improves adherence to procedures and safety rules. Keep in mind that leaders set the tone of the culture and they influence where their teams focus their time and energy. And finally, effective safety leadership results in increased employee productivity, quality, engagement, and safety. All right, so we're at the end of the presentation. I hope you all were able to learn something new about safety and safety leadership and how you can grow these competencies yourself. If you have any questions or if you'd like to talk more about my role here at the department, I'd love to hear from you. So I have my email here at the end, and I'll be passing it off to Alexis now to talk about the program evaluation process.
Awesome job, Haley. Thank you so much. And everyone give a great round of applause in the chat or wherever you are for Haley and this great presentation. I'm putting the link in the chat to fill out the evaluation. So all you have to do is click on it. But please be sure to do this. We want to hear from you and we appreciate your feedback. But once again, thank you, Haley. Let's give her a great round of applause.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for attending. I'll stay on just for a couple of minutes in case anyone has any follow-up questions that you'd like to talk about now.
And Haley, don't forget to hit the stop broadcast whenever you're comfortable.
Okay. Go ahead and hit that now. Thank you, everyone.